Okay. Hello again. My name is Michael, and welcome to Wheelin' and Healin', my channel, my little personal healing video blog. If you've watched my first couple videos, you're starting to get to know a little bit about me, and basically kind of like a little of what my life's about right now. And which is primarily healing, if you don't know. Healing past wounds from traumas, all sorts of stuff that have bled into this life and accrued throughout this life that I just ran. I accustomed to a very fast lifestyle, and it didn't lead me anywhere very productive. Usually landed me in jail a few times, lost everything, lost my car, homeless, and neglected my family and my daughter, and produced a son at the time that I wasn't able to raise just because of all the chaos. And there's just a lot that I'm talking about now and that I'm healing, that I've been in therapy for a few years. And so now, because of therapy, I've discovered like how important it is to talk. But I also get really, really anxious around people, and not just anxious. I've kind of began to call it anxious as an umbrella term, but I feel a many number of things around people. And honestly, I'll probably do a whole video just on this in itself, and like my experience of like coming to discover that I am empathic and or a highly sensitive person, if there is a difference. But basically, long story short, my first experience ever, I thought that I was having some kind of a psychic experience and knew what somebody was basically thinking and feeling far before they expressed it to me. And when I asked them, they lied to me, and then later they were super freaked out and admitted to me and asked me how I knew. And that was a few years ago, and it's just been a series of experiences since then that I've just discovered that I'm very, very, very sensitive around people. And so it's been a process of like seeing different therapists at different times, and thank God and thank all of the universe that my last couple were, and even my current one, but the last two, I really started getting into some really, really messy stuff, and broke just the shell wide open and became vulnerable. Started talking about stuff that I had never talked to anybody about, let alone hardly wanted to think about. You know, it was hard to sit with my own thoughts about stuff. And my last video was about addiction, and so a lot of this, I think I've been empathic my whole life, and I kind of, that played a part along with the traumas, but there's a lot of stuff that I just didn't always understand everything I was feeling, and I always wanted to avoid what I was feeling. But skip forward now, and even way recently, I just understand kind of, I don't understand exactly, but I know that I get very overwhelmed around people, and shopping centers, malls, traffic, anywhere that there's large groups of people. Forget concert halls or like anything like that. Heck no, not anymore. It's just something's going on since my healing. Is I'm getting more sensitive, and I think it's because I just was so numbed out for such a long time, that now that I'm really taking the time to slow down and face my stuff, sit with my feelings and sit with my thoughts, and just break through these layers of myself that I'm like, as this is going on, I'm becoming more sensitive again. And so it's just getting harder as time goes on because of that. And I don't know, maybe other things that I'm going through too. Like this, I gotta think that the root is a fear of being seen, or something about being seen. But I literally feel like everybody's always looking at me in the shopping stores, or even parked in traffic at a red light. I feel like every car around me is just staring at me. And not just that, but I feel like they're laughing at me, talking about me. You know, the whole is like paranoia. But when I'm going on walks, which is like every day, because that's part of my just breathing deep and walking often, or two of my things, and drinking water are just things that I do all the time now. And so I primarily stick to nature, because in my neighborhood it's beautiful, there's trees, and I'm so close to the river. But I just feel like every car that drives by is just staring at me, and every house I feel like there's people in the window just staring at me. And I don't know where this comes from, but I think it's something that I'm feeling, that it's just manifesting that as a thought, but it's feeling something different. I don't know for sure, but there's just a lot of stuff that I get overwhelmed around people. And I could name 1,000 scenarios that have probably occurred in the last month where I get overwhelmed around people. And I feel a lot of times I get overwhelmed by it and think that, I'm just feeling, it's me, but I'm pretty sure I'm feeling what other people are feeling, their emotions and their thought waves, and just their own traumas and insecurities and stuff. And it's okay. We all have our own stuff, and I know that very well because I'm getting pretty acquainted with my stuff. And so I don't like to judge other people's stuff, and I don't want to complain about this either, because this sensitivity is a blessing too. I'm able to connect with people in a completely different way, and I'm able to connect with nature and myself and creator. And like right now, it's a perfect example. These birds have been chirping nonstop, and I love it. A minute ago there was just maybe a hawk, but I'm pretty sure it was an eagle of some sort that was just doing these circles above me, and it went off towards the mountain behind me here, and just there's river, so it's probably fishing, looking for food, or coming to say hello. I'm learning that nothing is random, and when we see a squirrel or a bird chirping, or a hawk, a crow cawing, whatever it is, like, especially when they make a noise, they're trying to get our attention, and that's not random. And so, gosh, there's just so much for me to talk about, and I hope I can keep it in a brief outline, at least to be understood and related with, because just whether you're empathic too, or whether you're healing or not, I mean, everybody has rough days and gets stressed out and goes through stuff, or has stuff coming up that they're worried about, and so that's it. Nature has become my sanctuary, and whether I'm stressing about an upcoming event, or if I want to connect with God and my guides for guidance on anything, a subject or an issue, or just expanding more clarity on a subject, when I'm in nature is where I feel like I can hear the best, and think, and like see my just the whole internal dialogue and how we receive information. I hear mine the best in nature, because all the other noises have kind of been tuned out, more or less. There's an airplane literally right now, and I hear traffic over there, and there's a road up here. I'm in town, but there's the river, and it does this beautiful bend right here in a big rock. Something's making a bunch of undertows right here, and it's amazing because I can feel all of this energy. I'm drawn to water sources mostly, or trees and rocks. Actually, I can't say anything mostly because it just depends on more or less probably what I'm needing at any given time. I think God and different aspects of myself, like within me, kind of know what I need, and they guide me, and they're connected to the trees and the rocks and the birds and the skies and the waters and everything. So it helps me kind of like come back home, I guess. And today's a perfect example I'd say I always need it, and humans, as human natural beings, we always need nature. But what I'm trying to point out here is like how beneficial it is for me with my, sorry, the bug was flying right towards me, dive bombing me. How beneficial it is to, like, when I'm really stressed, or when I'm extra anxious or extra depressed or whatever has me going. Because I mean, I come into nature every day for a reset, because these things are going on all the time with me. But like I said, even if you're not empathic, or you're not like healing or super anxious all the time or anything like that, just like, I'm sure you might get stressed out at work sometimes, or with responsibilities of life, or bills, or your kids, or something, or your friends. I mean, someone says something messed up about you, and and it gets you just tweaked out for a while, or someone betrays you, or things happen in life that we just got to work with and maneuver through. And we don't have a lot of tools. Some people have more than others, naturally and instinctively or intuitively, or maybe someone read more books, or listened to more podcasts, or knows more people, or just knows more stuff. But I wasn't given a handbook. I think that, like, when we're born, they should just be like, okay, give your stuff to the parents, and here, raise your kid, here's the social security card, and here's the handbook, so they know how to process emotions and think their thoughts and deal with other people. And we're just not given a handbook. And so I don't know, there's so many things that before I get off topic, I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole now. Nature. Yeah, I get a reset. I feel some kind of a reset every time I come out here. I feel especially like it's rained recently, and oh my gosh, everything just feels so clean right now. And I'm sitting on the ground, and I don't even care. I get a towel, but I mean, the ground is just a little wet and cool and damp, and it just feels clean. And the thing is that it is clean, and it's pure, very, very pure, very connected to source, the cosmic source, God, if you will, where we come from, where everything comes from. And this is pure. It hasn't been programmed and brainwashed and traumatized like we have. Maybe it's been traumatized some, but I think it just naturally knew how to, like, evolve with it and, like, adapt. And we don't a lot of us don't know how to deal with the things of life and everything. But when I'm in nature, I feel like I do sometimes. And I feel like it just makes sense. And not like I know everything, but that everything is in its place. And the thing about how pure and cleansing and healthy and refreshing and everything that nature is, when we come out into it, we become that too. It's like being bathed in those energies, and it washes off the stuff from our day and from our week and thoughts. And especially that's happening no matter what. But if we are aware of that and actually, like, really tune in and create an intention, so, like, when we go to nature, say, I'm gonna go to this lake or this river today, and I intend to release any baggage or any energy or any beliefs, any traumatic energies, unresolved energy, anything that's eating at me right now, anything that's stressing me out, I release this into nature. I choose to come out here and to release this and be cleansed and purified and become whole again, and for a moment, and it does, and it works. And not only does it work, but I feel like I'm completely supported by everything out here in the process. And that's something that I'm coming to learn through everything. But since my spiritual awakening and everything has been flipped upside down and tossed inside out, everything is coming so alive to me. And you know, I'm talking about these birds chirping, or the hawks or the eagles, and when it's not random. You know, last night I was walking down this trail along the river further into town, and I saw this silhouette out of my peripheral of a bird, of a big bird, and I actually thought it was a robin, like a really big round bellied robin, because sometimes they're like, out of our small birds, they're like the biggest small birds that we have in this region or in this area. And so I assumed it was a robin, and I kind of saw where it stopped, kind of saw it was flying and it stopped. So I looked, and my eyes met it immediately. Only the thing is it wasn't a robin, it was an owl. And I don't know if it's like a certain specific type that's super small, or if it's a baby owl, but that thing was like just fluttering its eyes at me, and then it like looked over and looked back at me, looked over again, looked back at me, and then it flew over a few trees over on a branch, and then looked back at me again and made its little sound. And I was like, I gotta be imagining this, because I swear it was summoning me. And as I followed it, it kept hopping forward a little bit. It'd fly forward a little bit, stop, look back at me, like to check to see if I was still following it. And it literally brought me right to a spot I've walked past it dozens of times, but I've never stopped there. And it's a little patch that it's a trail off of a trail, and it's like I kind of had to go through the bushes a little bit, and like where I came in to where I ended, I was like totally concealed from the trail and from the road above. And it was enough little rocky patch to sit right next to the water, beautiful bushes around me, trees, and just a different view of this beautiful river that I love every day. But I always try to get a different angle of it and see it through a different lens. And that owl led me to it. And maybe I'm imagining these things, but my point is I don't think I am. And I feel like it's a connection that has been created with me and that owl and these birds and everything, because it's everywhere that I've gone. The name of the channel, Wheelin' and Healin', you know, the other part is Wheelin'. I've kind of slowed down these last few weeks for a few unnamed reasons for now. But I will be on the road again, because that's when I feel like when I'm moving, there's something symbolic about when the things that we do in life and how it's really affecting us at deeper levels. And so being in nature and how just becoming that connection, natural connection, and that spiritual connection, and everything that I experience in nature, but like being on the road is slightly a little different, because it's like I feel like these last few years I've been on an accelerated evolution. It's been healing, yes, but it's been change after change after change after change, and that's come with many identity crises at times. Feeling like I'm waking up the next day not knowing who I am compared to the day before. It's just healing through layers and becoming new selves and self-realizing, and there's so much that probably goes into that, but that constant movement, that constant change, that constant evolving and adapting and growing. And I feel like I was kind of instructed a few years ago spiritually to go on the road, and it was actually the end of 2018 going into the beginning of 2019, right around New Year's Eve. It was this intuitive thought that came over and over and over and over and it said, okay, this is the theme for this year: nature, travel, take your pen and paper. And I got that probably hundreds of times, dozens of times at least, every day for like a month, to where I finally just started taking a little notepad with me everywhere. I'm like, okay, I'm stepping in faith. I don't know what this means. I hadn't really, other than therapy and like, I don't know how far I was into my healing really at that point. I mean, I had been in the therapist, but I don't know if I had a lot of the tools that I do now to like really sit with myself and process and all the things that, you know, that go with that. Gosh, rabbit holes in my mind. But no, okay, so yeah, nature, travel, take your pen and paper. And I told my therapist, and I told a buddy, and the therapist is like, cool, go you. Where are you gonna go? I was like, I don't know. And my buddy, I'd probably been telling him it for a while. It must have been going on for a while, because at one point he was like, get out of town already. What are you still doing here? You know, he's just giving me crap. And so I don't know. So I said, okay, I think of a friend that's out of town. And I had a friend who was also freshly being clean and sober in her path at that time. And she lived in Montana, and it was winter. So I was like, well, maybe I could take my snowboard and try to get a couple of runs out at a different mountain. I found out right where she lived, there's a hot springs there. So I was like, oh man, okay. And I kind of themed it all around the hot springs. Seeing my friend ended up becoming a secondary thing because of her schedule and all that. But it worked out perfect, and just how it was meant to be, because probably was sitting in the hot springs by myself, was just sitting there like a different type of feeling than any other type of water, or hot water to be that, like sitting in hot spring water. I don't know. I just feel this connection to the earth through that water that I don't feel from anything else exactly. And I think that was my first time feeling that, and I don't know what exactly, but it like I knew that I just needed to go and stay going and stay connected with the land, but go to new places. And that's what it was, is I was going to new places, and I was seeing these new county lines and state lines, and they would just almost like have this like bright shimmer around it glowing as I would pass by it. And I'm like, oh, it'd be invigorating, this feeling of like a new fresh area. And what I was shown was that it is that, like, all these new places that I'm going physically, it's symbolic to tapping into new places within myself. And that's also what I get in nature, not just being remote places on the road, but like even close here in town where I live, next to our river, some trees. It's just, there's a different connection to, I don't know how to explain it exactly. I hope I'm like spreading the energy of what I see and what I feel through the limited amount of words I'm able to use, because it's just the only thing that makes sense to me now. And I literally can't go more than a couple days without some kind of nature. And I'm just like, how the heck did I ever like isolate and get depressed so bad that I didn't open my apartment door for 3, 4, 5 days in a row? Which, that's real too. That wasn't very long ago for me. You know, I'm going to say it because it's on my mind. I think that's how my spirit guides connect with me, is when they're like showing me a thought. But it's just talk about the depression too. But at that times, many times I was like, couldn't leave the apartment. I was never really suicidal, like wanting to kill myself, but I did not want to go on. I did not want to exist. And I don't know if there's a difference, but other than like, I don't know. But let me tell you, the things that I've read, things that I've heard, especially therapists, like when I was depressed, before I even got into nature and into this routine, I would go on walks, because my counselor, like 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, she was like, well, how much sunlight are you getting? She's like, do you have a sun lamp? Do you open your windows? Do you get sunlight? Do you go outside ever and just look up, put your arms up? And these things matter. These things matter. And I guess, I don't know, talk to someone that's been in prison for a really long time with no windows, or on a submarine or something for months on end, or Antarctica, if you lived in Alaska or Antarctica and didn't get sun for months. I don't know. I've never had those experiences exactly to, you know, or prolonged periods. Like I've been in jail and stuff, you know, but I could always, it's never too long before I can get out and see some blue skies and clouds and sun, or the moon. Even nighttime is just equally as, it's all magnified by the sun, you know, and other suns, other stars. And it's just, oh my gosh, rabbit holes again. There's just so much. And I had to get on right now because I literally just made the other video earlier this morning, and I didn't think I was going to be making another one for days or weeks. I don't know when inspiration strikes, right? But I was just sitting like thinking all gloomy, talking about addiction, and I'm pointing over there like you know where I'm at. I was just down the road a little ways in a parking lot by some trees, and it stopped raining enough that I was able to come outside. And now the wind's blowing and it feels amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I guess I needed a gust of air, you know, to air some stuff out, because what I talked about, it helps to vent it, but it's still like, every time I talk about it, like drills into different stuff that maybe I haven't tapped into before, or I don't know how to explain it, but it like always taps into stuff, and it just, not all of it comes out. I think a little more each time does. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah, I think a little more each time does. But it doesn't all come out, but it does stay raw and fresh and like aggravated. Poked and prodded at, you know. And I have a lot of techniques. The more that I gain coping, good, healthy, strong techniques to cope, the smaller the list of avoiding is getting. So that's good to kind of see that happening, you know, because I used to have a lot of addiction things. I'm talking about addiction earlier, but I was addicted to everything. I used to say people, I'm addicted to being addicted. And I'm worried if there ain't nothing to be worried about. There's a couple things about me, you know, and even now I have kicked some to the curb, and I am in the middle of some and talking about it. But the thing about me is I'm all or nothing, you know. When I was quitting smoking cigarettes, I would listen to people, and someone's like, oh, other people trying to quit and stuff. Oh, I only smoked 5 cigarettes today. I only smoked 2 cigarettes today. Well, I could never be that kind of person. With my addictions and with my tendencies and just personality, maybe the way I am, I couldn't do 2 cigarettes a day. I was either a pack a day, or I had to quit cold turkey and not look back. And gosh, now that's a super rabbit hole because I'm talking about addiction stuff, but it's still raw and fresh, and that's why I had to come out here right away. And I put my headphones on and was going for a walk, and honestly, I went to the water side and smoked a joint because I'm being honest, and I'm speaking my truth here. But it said, go back to the backpack, go back to your car and get your backpack with your stuff, and it's not raining now, get your stuff and make another one. Because I started feeling better immediately. That's why I come out here. Now I'm just trying to express that, and wow. Man, I don't know. There's just some things that like pop out to mind, you know. Places I've been, of course, just majestic. Glacier National Park, you know, or watching the geysers down at Yellowstone, or Wyoming, Colorado flatlands where you're like 8,000 feet in the sky. You don't know if it's gonna be winter from today to the next day. Or the red rocks of Utah and Arizona, the Pacific Ocean, Mount Shasta, the Redwoods, Mount Baker, Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens. I haven't been to the top of all these, but it's just all these places that I've been that are like super sacred, very sacred, spiritual. There's a reason that people go to Sedona, Arizona, or to Mount Shasta, or to some of the pyramids of Egypt, and there's just certain places on the planet that I think honor and support healing and self-realizing and things at faster rates. And I think that happens anywhere in nature. I think that we can intentionally connect like that anywhere in nature, and maybe we can connect intentionally like that at home or in the city. I can't. I get overwhelmed by what I'm feeling and all the noise. I gotta come out here, and I love it. I'm falling in love with it. And so I guess that's it. It's something that has worked magic and miracles in my life, and so I'm talking about it because it's about my life, and maybe it'll help somebody out there. Maybe someone that is like stuck in their work routine and so tired all the time with family and kids and responsibilities, and that it's hard to go out, but let me tell you, if you can take just a different route to work, or on your way back, give yourself a little extra time and take a different route. That's important anyways. Switch up your routes. We get programmed easily as human beings with these brains of ours, and sometimes it helps to consciously mix things up a little bit, and but take a different route sometimes, and find a park and just stop, and you don't have to make it a big thing, you don't have to be a nature nut like me and go out and hug trees and stuff. But you don't have to not do that either. You can just seriously stand up and walk through and stand under a tree, look up at it, and take some deep breaths, and just little things. Imagining you connecting to the roots of that tree and transferring stuff into the planet to help absorb it in ways that maybe you don't know how, or that we don't know how yet. And there's just so many benefits. But go out into nature, take some deep breaths, reset, feel better. Just remember that we are natural human beings. We're natural. We belong in nature. And yeah, so that's all I'm going to say about that to prevent any more rabbit holes. Infinite love and blessings for everybody that's tuning into these videos. I'm eternally grateful for anyone that is. But again, like I said, this is mainly also for me to talk and express myself, because I've had a problem my entire life. I've had a hard time my entire life expressing myself. And so I feel like Spirit is showing me, has guided me in pre-showing me, before it's happened, showing me that this is what it's going to take. Make yourself vulnerable and talk about it, but make it public. But okay, my mind's about to go blank, so I think I am done. Infinite love and blessings for everybody and everything and every place. That's my intention. I hope for the highest and the best good for everybody, everything, and every place involved all the time. I love you all. Goodbye.